Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, but glad about it. Oh. You will be all right.
Y'all all right now?
Call me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the special State Benton Harbor Commission meeting to order. We have for our agenda this evening, we have the interview of applicants for medical marijuana provisioning center. Our first applicant is Red Bud Roots. Are they present?
Rare. Need to not know enough.
Oh,
Yes. Give him ears tonight if never again.
I stand to be corrected. We must begin with the invocation
Left it on the table.
and ask that we rise for the invocation. I'd like for missionary Seats. Is she present? To lead us in the invocation, to be led by our Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to choose a resident today, Roger Lane.
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this evening. God, we ask that you look on us tonight. God, grant us wisdom and knowledge in the ability to God to make decisions and right decisions before you. God, we thank you for a hand of protection over this city. And we thank you for leadership and guidance, and ask that everyone in the room accept the favor of God that is available to you tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we continue to look.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Adams,
Present.
Commissioner Edwards,
Present.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Present.
Commissioner Henderson. Here. Commissioner Henry,
Present.
Commissioner Isom,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats. Commissioner Singleton, Mayor Muhammad,
Present.
you have a quorum present, Your Honor.
This brings us to our citizens' comments or public participation. Please register with the city clerk and she will call you accordingly.
Mr. James Duncan.
I'm gonna be brief. I'm glad all of you guys are here in the same room through the chair. My idea about having medical marijuana brought into Benton Harbor was something that I thought was pretty much mandatory the way drugs are being passed out in this town. That being said, my other thought is we need our school system put in place. And if this is the way we have to go through to get it, I would like to ask each one of these programs to invest in our school system. It's the most important thing happening in this town. I see eyes are on all our prizes, but our main prize is our school system and our beach. So if we can get all the help for our not only, if we can just get all the help we can get for our students and working through our commission, through our city manager, to be able to lift Benton Harbor up to where it's supposed to be, like it's never, ever been before, especially for my people. I think everybody is my people, but I got my own, you got my own crew, you got your own crew. But I want things to happen for the citizens. Keep us in mind for our school system in particular. I asked it from the very beginning. I've been with you guys. I've sided with you guys from the very start because I knew great things could happen because of you guys coming to our city and wanting to be a part of it. And thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you. That ends our portion for the citizens' comments, public participation. This brings us to the interview process. I'd like to yield the floor to Red Bud Roots.
Y'all see everything is,
Leave the microphone.
ooh, you want me to leave it there? Or
You can take it out.
Oh.
How's that?
Yes, stay right in the air. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Al Leonowitz. I'm one of the founders of Redwood Roots and also its chief operating officer. With me today is Freddie McGee. He's our director of community outreach. Also is Hunter Mishler. He's our director of production sciences. So what that means is he helps out with all of our edible and infused products. That's his domain. He also oversees our operations and cultivation facility, all of which are located in Buchanan, so just down the street from you all here. Tonight, I wanted to kind of give you a brief overview of who we are as a company, so you kind of understand where we are, where we've come, and kind of where we're looking to go. And Freddie's going to talk to you a little bit about our hiring procedures, some of our staffing and how that works. And then Hunter's going to touch on some of the product that we have and the benefits that come with it. So with that, the 10,000-foot view, Redwood Roots is a vertically integrated cannabis company. So for you that don't know what that means, it means we grow, process, and we sell our own product. So we started this venture about 2 years ago in Buchanan, was one of the first cities that we landed. We were licensed about a year and a half ago, so it took us about 6 months to get through that process, and we're one of the first to get the license in the state of Michigan. When we started, we had about 6 employees, and the total that I got today when we left is we're up to 82 in Buchanan. So I looked at the numbers a little bit, and over half of those individuals are from the city of Buchanan itself. The rest are from surrounding neighborhoods, so Niles, South Bend, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo is where we pull some of our individuals that work there as well. Another interesting stat I found was 8 of the individuals that did not live in Buchanan have since moved there. So they bring their families. They've now purchased real estate in the city, which I thought was a very kind of interesting stat for us as a company. One thing I kind of hold near and dear and that I'm the most proud of is the people that we have. So like any business, it's really the secret sauce is the folks that you have that come through the door. And that is really something that we hold dear. And what I wanted to stress or kind of highlight here with some of this stuff is, we recognize that a license is truly a privilege. It's not a right. You don't just get one. And with that privilege comes a great deal of responsibility. So you're going to hear there's a lot of applicants that talk about, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I'm here to kind of show you what Redbud has done and how our track record, as you can see in Buchanan, what we've actually lived up to, not only in Buchanan, but in Muskegon, in Traverse City, and some of these other cities that we're expanding into. Like I said, we have 82 employees in total. Buchanan is near and dear to our heart, so as you know, they have 2 big events during the year. They're called Thrill on the Hill. They close down the city, and they do a big water slide down the middle of all the kids. But we force all of our employees to go out for the day. So one of the things I love about that is it gives the community a sense of who we are as people, allows us to get out in the community at large and understand who Redbud is as well. And so that's just a little bit of what we do. We also do, obviously, the financial portion of that. We contribute to some of the local events, but that's really the biggest event that we put on. And that goes throughout all the cities. So in Traverse City, we're a member of the Chamber of Commerce. In Muskegon, we sponsored a number of events in a 5K and participated in that as well. So we truly recognize that, like I said, it is a privilege. It's not something we take lightly. And if we are chosen as one of the recipients, that would be something that we bring here to Benton Harbor as well. So just like I said, a quick overview is that we started in Buchanan. We've since kind of moved outwards from there to a couple of the neighboring cities and communities. Our proposed property is 241 East Main Street. So if you walk out of here, it's the old kayak shop. And one of the things that really attracted us to this facility was its ability to be retrofitted pretty quickly. So while we've been waiting through the licensing process, we've taken a couple steps. So we've reached out to our general contractors to begin that process. We have some of the initial renderings here of what we propose that facility would look like. So because we have gone through the licensing process already, our thought is once we receive a building permit, we believe we could be operational between 90 and 100 days. So if middle of March was the date that you received the permit or the go-ahead, you could see a live Redbud facility with doors open in the middle of June. One quick point here, and I'm going to turn over to the rest of my colleagues, is one thing I want to emphasize again is that Redbud is vertically integrated. So what that allows us to do as a company is that we can provide product at the lowest possible cost. So for those folks that do not have a grow and processing facility, what it means is there's a middleman. So that middleman is going to obviously put his fee on top of it, and then the product that is ultimately dispersed out of the community is going to be at a higher cost. So when we expand into cities, there's a couple of things we look at. What's the average household income, right? What does a community look like at large? Because if it's one thing for us to open a great looking facility, but if nobody can afford the product that's on the shelf, what's the point? So with us being vertically integrated, with us being right down the street, one of the benefits that we can provide to the city is quality, high premium medicine, but at a very affordable price, which I think a lot of the applicants, unless they are truly vertically integrated, are going to struggle to do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Freddie. He's going to talk to you a little bit about our hiring process, some of the training that we do for our wellness home wellness consultants instead of bud tenders.
So actually, if I mean, I don't know if you all are doing like stand up, but if you could just stay behind the desk.
Yeah, easier than.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Freddie McGee. I am a proud Benton Harbor High School graduate in 1992. This is my home. I am the former principal at Hull Middle School, Fairplay Middle School, and the STEM Academy. So when the guy talked about the school district, he's spot on. I work with the communities. We've expanded, as Alex said. I just drove down from Battle Creek. I just met with some commissioners up there, about developing some things in Battle Creek. And I also meet in Kalamazoo as well. So now I'm home. So if we're granted this, obviously I know home. You guys had a chance to come down to our facilities down there. Tracy and I talked about possible landmarks around the city that could probably use a facelift. Those are some of the things that we do. And that's directly my job, is to get with community people and see what we can do there. So with having said that, also I am over hiring. So we will immediately create 12 jobs that will consist of 10 wellness consultants, we call them. That's anywhere from $13 to $17 an hour with full benefits. And we also have equity incentives with that. 2 manager positions, and that's anywhere from $45,000 to $60,000. Now, these are not just numbers that we're throwing out. These are actual numbers that we're paying people right now in our other facilities. So the 2 managers, $45,000 to $60,000 plus full benefits. So I understand the need for jobs in our city. I understand the need for facelifts in our city and things of that nature. So I'm very excited to be that liaison who will be, if we're granted this license, over hiring. We take anyone that we're gonna hire, we take them through a 2-week process where they'll have an opportunity to come to our Buchanan facilities and see what we're doing at the Grove facilities, take them through training. You can literally come into this position not having any knowledge of medical marijuana, and you will be trained to know what you need to know in order to execute your position. Also, then you'll come to the facility itself. So there's an extensive amount of training that we will be doing. So one of the things we pride ourselves on is equity. So with that meaning men, women, single, married, low income, high income, whatever. So we're looking for local people who's willing to put the work in, learn our products, and learn what we're all about, because our company is a family. And I just want to point to, that's the facility, that's what it will look like right down there. So I'm excited to be a part of this. I've been with these guys for a little over a year now. It's a family-oriented situation. So I love it, and they get tired of me talking about Big Harbor, right? So we've been Traverse City, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, but an opportunity to come home. They can probably tell you all about Big Harbor right now, because that's all I talk about. So thank you guys for the opportunity to speak right now. I'm looking forward, if we're granted this license, you won't be sorry, because if I have anything to do with it, Mercedes not running. Thanks.
So as Alex said, my name is Hunter Mishler. I'm the Director of Production Science here at Redwood. My responsibilities include all of our product development, as well as our facility design. So all the products we create, I personally have overseen the creation of and the formulations. But I kind of want to take a minute to talk about how I got with Redwood and why my story is kind of influenced by products as a whole and our identity as a company. So cannabis for me was a measure of last resort. It wasn't something I used previously. I had many concussions playing sports growing up, which led me to some brain trauma and no real solution from Western medicine. I was presented a choice, use opiates every day to help with the nausea and migraines that were a result of brain damage, or just let it be and deal with it. As a college student, I had dropped out of college. I had no real future that I could see. So cannabis was my only option. And what it did for me was within 2 weeks, I was healthy and well. So for me, I started learning more about the product, learning more about how it can help people. And my entire goal has been to give that same hope back to even just a single family. Red Bud Roots was kind enough to offer me the biggest platform in the world to be able to take that mentality of just giving something back for what it's done for me personally. So all of our products are designed to help people. We make sure to include a little bit of every cannabinoid in most of our products. And we take a lot of pride in the fact that no matter how you need to use cannabis, we have an option for you. Whether it's the pre-rolls or some of our topical lotions that we're developing, our edibles are the fastest working in the country. Within 10 minutes, you can feel the full effect. It's very dosable, controllable. At the end of the day, our goal is to make cannabis approachable for everyone. So we've taken a lot of care to build state-of-the-art facilities, because without the technology, we can't create the best medicine possible for your community and hopefully our community as well. As Freddie said, I just want to thank you all for your time tonight and considering us. We really, truly look forward to being a community partner. I actually moved out to the area myself for this opportunity. I'm just outside the city here, and I'm incredibly grateful for the welcome I've received here and the welcome that we hope Red Bud will receive as well. As Freddie mentioned, most of my employees are single moms that have been given another chance. So to see the growth within the families of our production members, it's really a blessing. And we're excited to see this grow and develop and impact other communities in the same way. So we're just incredibly grateful to be here. Very much grateful for your consideration.
So we have some time here. I didn't know if there's any questions from the commissioners or any questions you have for us, understanding the process, kind of where we come from and what our desires are.
Any questions from the city council? Chair recognizes Second Ward Commissioner Evans.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I just wanted to catch his name again. He had interesting,
Hunter Mishler.
Hunter. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
So I just have one question. You had mentioned, I think, a timeline. As you know, that there are more applicants than licensed. And if there was a stipulation or a timeline placed with the granting of a license, not to exceed six months, to begin full operation of a provisioning center, would you be able to fulfill that accommodation?
We would, because of the fact that we've been through that pre-qualification process with the state already. So the biggest holdup that you're going to run into for the folks that are just entering into this is you've got the city application licensing process, right? Then you have to go to the state for a two-step process. One.
We know that. I'm saying,
Okay,
and
yes,
you,
can we, yes, within 6 months, absolutely. Like I said, I'm hoping truthfully, between 90 and 100 days, knowing that our construction is estimated between 60 to 75, and then the state for the inspection, MRA, PFS, that's like about 2 weeks is what we've seen so far. So within 100 days, I would say you'd have a turnkey operation where you'd be able to walk in.
thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner at Large Isom.
I just have one question, simple. Why Benton Harbor?
Great question. There's a couple reasons. One, it's proximity to the freeway, and the fact that there are not a lot of quality cannabis companies out there. So one of the things we look at when we're looking at cities is, one, how close is it to our facility, truthfully, and two, what's the accessibility for the population at large around the area. So when we started the process, Benton Harbor was one of the first to opt in. We were in Buchanan, we were located off the freeway, we were close to. We had some initial conversations with Freddie about how great the city was. We go, this is great. The retail location across the street was a former kayak shop, so it was set up for retail. So we look at it and say, quick turn of the building, great location, great city, and then obviously close to home. So.
Thank you.
we'll take our stuff down and get it
Just
away here.
quickly,
Sure.
I'm looking at, the viewing of the building itself. And I know
This one?
there's windows all the way around. You do know that within our ordinance that we put together that it has a stipulation about not being able to visually see inside. But you're aware of that,
Yes,
Okay.
this is actually, so this is the interior here.
for nothing to be visibly seen from the public eye, from the outside view.
Correct, so this is actually just, the only glass here is the interior, and you're right, that building does have a large amount of glass. So we tinted them, we also use what's called 3M tape,
Okay.
so if anybody was decided to bang on the outside, it looks
Yeah.
the same, so, but yes, thank you.
Chair recognizes Third Ward Commissioner Henry.
Thank you. I was just looking at, your document here. I heard you say that you had, this document says you have 4 new positions to fill for the Benton Harbor natives. Is it 4 or is it 10?
It's actually 12, so we have 2 managers, and then we have 10 wellness consultants, or bartenders, right, the retail. So 2, we have a general manager, assistant manager, then we have different levels of wellness consultants. So we try to get 3 of each. So if you're a new beginner, you come in as a level consultant, or a wellness consultant level 1. The more experienced folks will be level 3, and then we kind of gradually work you up. And like Freddie said, we offer the equity option for folks because we want this to feel like it's as much of theirs as it is ours. And we recognize that people that do have equity feel like it's theirs, right? It becomes a part of theirs, and that's what we really want. So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
I have one more question, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I did, and correct me if I heard you correctly, that, your training, so when they come in with zero knowledge and you train them, will they become management if they work their way up? Or do you just keep your same group?
No, we promoted from within. So, interesting story is Hunter brought a friend with him who, when we first started to grow, was the guy mopping the floors. He didn't know anything about cannabis. He was just helping out. And today he's running one of our grow facilities himself. And he's an owner. So that's just an example of how we always tend to look inside. When we bring people in, we've got a heavy vetting process, but it's because we're trying to find the right people long term. I'm not in this to have somebody there and then they're gone and do this whole thing. We want quality candidates the first time around. We'll teach and grow with them and then let them accelerate through the program.
For those who were able to come up to Buchanan to see what our growth facility was like, you would have noticed there's a lot of hugging and handshaking and stuff going on. It's truly a family-oriented company. So the longer you stay, obviously, better chance of equity.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate, or excuse me, pardon me, applicant is Green Buddha. Are they present?
Good evening.
Good evening.
May I approach and hand out some handouts? Good evening, members of the commission. I'm
you're receiving right now a package of materials. We were worried that the lighting here might not show the PowerPoint very well. So I think we might have just the right number, or we might be short one. But these are the supplementary what are on the screen. My name is Paul Weisberger. I'm one of the owners of proposed applicant Green Buddha of Benton Harbor, LLC. And I have with me Sakina Tennyson. And at this time, I would like to start the presentation by having her give an introduction of herself.
Speak to the microphone.
Okay. Give an introduction of herself and also her involvement in the company. And then I will start going through the PowerPoint presentation and answer any of your questions. So this time I'll turn it over to Sakina.
All right, so. Okay, my name is Sakina Tennyson. I have a business in Benton Harbor. My company is called Possibilities Network. I've been working in the area since 2008. I've been in the area since 2004. And up until 2013, when I got married, I lived in Benton Harbor. So my company focuses on employment, and I also am very passionate about community work. So when Green Buddha approached me to be a part of the group, I definitely made sure that I interviewed them to ensure that the values that I have that reflect the community work that I've done and the company that I have, that they are a match. So with that said, I have been in employment for over 10 years, first working with the state of Michigan, currently working for myself. My focus or specialty has been primarily with people with disabilities. And I work with a lot of residents, helping them to find and keep jobs and working with employers to help them to maintain it. So my role with Green Buddha would be to make sure that there's a good connection between the company and the city, and making sure that I'm gonna just hold on to this microphone. Making sure that what we know about what the community is interested in is being carried forward, so that there's not a disconnect between what you all are hoping will happen as you bring companies in and what the companies actually do. So that would be my job as a community liaison. I'll focus on volunteerism, making sure that Green Buddha supports with time and money local events and projects that are across the city. One of the things that we did is some research on current projects that the city is working on. And we know that one of the priorities is parks and recreations, and that'll be discussed a little bit more, eliminating blight and revitalization of the city. So we need to make sure that we didn't just choose things that are typical of companies to choose, but the things that we know reflect the values of the city. The other part of my work will be to ensure, you'll see in slides later when Paul presents, that we'll focus on hiring people from the community. And my job is to actually interview them and take them through that process of interviewing and hiring local residents to work for Green Buddha. All right. And the last thing is, we definitely want to make sure that the aesthetic of the building fits the direction that the community is going in. I know that this is developing an artisan community, and so we want to make sure the building reflects that. So one of the things that we did is set back the door a little bit to provide a display for local artists in the area. All right, I think that's it.
I hope I can work this. Again, Paul Weisberger, I'm one of the owners of Green Buddha Benton Harbor LLC, and also part of a larger family of locations and grow operations and processing. We're very excited for the opportunity to be in Benton Harbor. We've been working on this hard for a number of years with staff. We're excited to have Sakina on our team. And with that, we'll start going through the presentation. And I understand we have a 30-minute window, so I will be quick. quick, and I do not like reading word for word from PowerPoints. It bores everybody to tears, so I'll try to move through these. And I'm off to a good start with flipping. Is it page up? The right, left button. Okay. So the first slide that we're going to talk about is the current building, which I actually think is a fantastic looking building. It's historic in nature. We are not proposing to do many changes to this other than the signage, and also with the artwork in the front. As it relates to the interior, there'll be significant changes, but we will be demolishing. If you look at the picture, you'll see to the left almost like a pole barn shed that's currently on the left side of the building. That will be removed to make sure that we have plenty of parking. A provisioning center to be successful needs to be parked appropriately. We do understand that if we are selected, we still need to go through a special land use process where we can make sure that everyone's comfortable with lighting and parking, but we will be removing that overhang projection to the left. Also removing the fencing that's in the middle of the parking lot. And we'll be adding our Green Buddha sign to the front of it. But in terms of the building, we think it's a fantastic looking building. I love the stretch of road. I love the historic nature of the building. You'll see next the floor plan. You've probably seen a number of floor plans to date, having all the same things like inventory rooms, safe rooms, manager's office. We'll have a waiting room when you enter the space, which the door will be midway on the side of the building to the west, on the west side of the building. You'll then enter after you've gone through the reception, checked in, and then you'll enter a secure area where we'll have 5 POS stations. I want to talk a little bit about the applicant and if you peel back the onion, who's behind the applicant. So my name is Paul Weisberger. I'm a practicing attorney, but also a retailer. I was appointed by Governor Snyder to the marijuana advisory panel. I'm also part of the marijuana law section. I've been a real estate broker. I sat on various planning commissions and zoning boards. I was a former municipal attorney. So we're very in tune with what land use, what works and doesn't work, and where the right place to go in a city is. And again, I'll flip through some of these and not toot my horn the whole time, but a frequent speaker at places that deal with real estate and land use. I was also part of the committee that drafted the adult use initiative, ballot initiative. So we have and I'm also part of the 5th largest tobacco retailer in the country, which is Wild Bill's Tobacco. And we'll get to the relevance of that in a second. Right now, under projects that I'm working on, we have licensed facilities up in Bangor Township. We also are under construction for a very large grow up in Bangor Township. That's relevant in the sense that we will have product selection and quantities sufficient to serve the patient needs at our provisioning center in Benton Harbor. We'll be vertically integrated with our processing facility in Lansing. It should be noted that I'm pre-qualified. I'm part of a pre-qualified entity, so the state has already vetted me. And we have projects that we're involved in or have been approved in the cities that you see on the current slide. But in the interest of time, I won't read them all off. The other majority member of the company is Luke Simona. Luke Simona is a principal of Wild Bill's Tobacco. We also have sister companies, Mr. Vapor, Smoky Joe's, Churchill Cigars. Churchill Cigars, you'll see in the next couple slides, is a high-end cigar bar. The relevance to that is you can see the level of expertise and the professionalism we bring to the interior of the space and what type of retailer we are. Luke has about 3 decades worth of experience in a highly regulated business. I want to touch upon that for a second. What's relevant about us being involved in the tobacco business is that there are not a lot of people in the state of Michigan that have years of experience in marijuana. And so because of that, it's hard to get a good track record on how they are as marijuana operators. But the next most compatible business that you can choose from, if you're looking at who is similar to a highly regulated taxed product, it would be tobacco. So the company that we're involved in, the principal, that's the majority owner of this company, has been involved in one of the highest regulated taxed businesses in the country, that being tobacco. He's done so without any issues and is excited to be in this industry. Now, we currently employ over 500 people at Wild Bill's Tobacco, not counting our corporate office. We have about a 60,000 square foot corporate office where we have CPAs, attorneys, marketing, compliance directors, HR directors, area managers, district managers. I mention this because we're bringing the same back end and same oversight to our Green Buddha concept. And that means that we're going to be complying with the law, we're going to be paying taxes, and we're going to be running a tight operation. It's hard to pick up on the screen, but hopefully in the packets that I've handed out, you can see what the interior of a Churchill's cigar bar looks like. Luke Simone is also pre-qualified by the state, so he's gone through the vigorous background checks. We've already talked about Sakina, so we'll pick past this screen, but we are very excited to have her on board. I do want to say that we are going to be using her as our community liaison, make sure that we donate to the right things, volunteer our time to the right things, hire the right people, and are a good corporate citizen in Benton Harbor. We're insured. We have plenty of financial support. I see that, I guess we're doing a little bit okay in time, but I want to make sure I leave you guys some time for questions. We have plenty of capital behind this operation. We have demonstrated in the packet a minimum $1 million available to us, but the principal member, Luke Simona, has in your packet sufficient funds. I'll leave it to the, that's kind of confidential, but I'll leave it to the application as to what dollar amount he has in his bank account. Trust me, we have the capital to see this image through to completion and fruition. Again, this is a slide just demonstrating that Luke and I don't have any bankruptcies, relevant criminal convictions, regulatory noncompliance, and Luke has been in a heavily regulated adult tobacco business for almost 3 decades now. The security plan, I think security is important. I don't think that security plans are necessarily going to be what separates applicants. I think what's going to separate applicants, because you have a minimum security criteria from the state of Michigan. I mean, they come and check every inch of that space has to be on camera. Every space has to be recorded. All the doors and locks and restricted areas have to meet a certain standard. What differentiates is sometimes people have maybe more security guards or longer hours of the security guards, but for the most part, I don't believe security plans are going to be what separates the applicants. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. Be happy to answer questions on it, but we will have all the requisite security, RFID entry into restricted rooms, vaults. We will not have, we'll have no direct windows into the space. So having just said I wouldn't touch on it, I just spent 5 minutes on it. Anyway, moving on. We have a security plan there that you'll see from the camera angles. You can see that every part of that space, other than the bathroom, is visible. Even the closets are supposed to be visible. And I can tell you that the state of Michigan, if they come into your space, having gone through a number of these inspections, if they walk around and they can find a dead spot where you're not on camera, they will make you put it in before they pass you. So we're into the business plan. Just give me a second. I have a few notes on this that we want to touch upon. So we have, what really dictates how many employees you're going to have is the size of the space and the amount of traffic that you're going to have. And so we have 5 POS stations. And so that means at a minimum, you're going to have 5 bud tenders or patient assistants. And then if you have, our hours of operation are 9 to 8 and on Monday through Saturday and 10 to 8 on Sunday. So that's about 76 hours in a week. And so if you consider that 2 shifts, and you have 5 bud tenders, that's 10 right there. Plus you have a receptionist, you have to have 2 of those unless you like paying overtime. You have to have 2 security guards at a minimum, depending on how long your security guards are there. And then you have assistant manager, maybe even the second assistant manager. So your numbers are going to be somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. That could change if you get busier. You might need more receptionists. We plan on paying a wage that would be usually double what a living wage would be. So somewhere between $15 up to 25 to 30 if you're a manager, and there's also bonuses that are calculated into that. A lot of the people that are behind the counter get tips. That's something that I wasn't aware of until we got in the business, but they do get tips, and that's because it's a very intense transaction. This is not simply, for most people, it's not just simply walking up to the counter and just buying a pack of cigarettes. It's having somebody behind the counter extremely knowledgeable that has to educate the patient, and there's quite a bit of time spent on some of the newer people or the newer people to the store. Either they've been somewhere else or they've been getting their product from a caregiver. Usually the product array at these places is wide and expansive, and they need to be educated on it. And so tips are awarded. So what we're proposing in there is what we would be paying, but there would also be gratuity that would be involved in that. And I do want to tell you that when we make a commitment to say we're going to hire locally, in practice we do hire locally. So we have about 120 stores throughout Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. And I quizzed our HR team today, and I said, how often do we hire from the area in which we locate a store? And the answer is always. And as a general rule of thumb, our employees are usually within about the same radius as our customers. So if you're in a city that draws employees from a 2-mile radius, you're probably going to have employees drawn from about 2 to 3 miles. Employees will drive a little bit further because for a job. But for the most part, we hire where we open. We do not, as a general rule, transport people from a certain area of Michigan and set them up in a new location. We hire locally. So when we say we're going to hire the majority of our people from Benton Harbor, I mean we're going to hire the majority of people from Benton Harbor or the immediate Benton Harbor area, but the majority will come from Benton Harbor. And that is a track record that we have at 120 of our Wild Bill location stores. So we're excited to be part of the community and to hire Benton Harbor residents. Now you'll see some of the other benefits in that slide without spending too much time on it. I will say that it's in your application materials, but the general, because the exterior of this building is so nice, and because we don't need to demo a building and we don't need to renovate a historic facade that's in good shape, the majority of our money on this project, since we're in the business model, is going to be on the interior. So you're going to be looking at somewhere around a $350,000 interior remodeling, along with some equipment and cameras. Then you have signage. You're also going to have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 to $400,000 in inventory. You're also going to have some startup capital that's going to be needed to cover payroll. Payroll for a provisioning center is not cheap. There's not a lot of employers out there that are paying $15 starting wage. That's usually a manager's salary after some time at a retail operation. So, and I think that's probably across the board. I think you're probably going to see a lot of people paying a decent wage. That's just the market. So it's a good job for everybody, and hopefully everybody's excited to get this kicked off for the 4 awarded applicants. I'm going to show you real quickly because this is like apples and walnuts. I mean, this is our location in Ferndale, Michigan. We took an old industrial building, demoed the north end of it, and then we brought in a designer to do a modern approach. What we're doing in this location is not, but I just wanted to show you between the Churchill's interior and what we did here, what type of changes we make. You'll see the interior is clean. This is something that will translate to the location of Benton Harbor. We'll be doing a very clean, light interior in the space. Very professional. We'll we'll hire a designer to make sure that that's done right. This is another location that we have up in the Bay City market. This is another concept that we're thinking of, is very modern, light interior that we'd like to do. I think we've already touched upon a little bit earlier on our commitment to the city and charitable giving. Obviously, depending on how things go, that number would go up, and we'd be working with Sakina on that. I think she didn't mention that one of the things that we want to target, and we talked about it, was Cycle Recycle and the Benton Harbor Soup Kitchen. But we will have, as part of our program and working with her, an involvement in the community, and she will be in charge of that. She'll also be in charge of our PR and our marketing. So we figure she'll have the best pulse on the community. And she'll also assist, obviously, in her hiring of Benton Harbor residents. We've already talked about putting the artwork in. Now getting into a little bit of land use issues. The closest residential home, I think, is like 1,300 feet away. We meet the buffering zone for schools. One of the things that people are worried about in community impact is odor control. So we'll have odor control. We already do this in our other locations, but we'll have active carbon scrubbers and filtration systems to make sure that there's no odors. And then you also see within the space, you'll see that everything is in containers, and that even if you walked into the space, that it will not be a strong odor. And marijuana is strong. It is a strong odor. So it's a legitimate concern the community should be worried about. But with the right carbon scrubbers and the right ventilation system, that should not be a problem. This is the site plan from above. We have about 2,800 square feet in the building, a little over, and with a parking standard of 1 per 250, I believe, gross square footage. That comes out to 12 spaces needed. We have 24 spaces needed. Obviously, this will have to go through site plan and special land use approval, but I think we have ample parking. I also believe there's to the north, there is a city-owned parking lot. I'll have to talk to staff about whether that's accessible to our customers or that's got other intents for the city. But we do have on-site plenty of parking without even talking about too much street parking up and down the road. I think it's relevant as you look at these uses, in my opinion, that you look at where it's being located. So we're in the central business district, but I do want to point out that to the north of us is IH, which is heavy industrial. And then to the south of us is central business district. And then to the south of that is light industrial. So we are not near homes. There's a lot of times there's commercial districts that are close proximity to homes. We are in the central business district, but we are buffered with industrial to the north of us. So I think from a land use standpoint, to the extent you look at marijuana as either an unknown use or maybe a higher intensity use, I think being next to heavy industrial would be the appropriate buffer.
Approaching 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay, I'm getting close. If approved, we will start submitting for permits immediately. Obviously, again, we have to get special land use approval. We're talking right now, we're not talking about recreational marijuana, we're talking about medical marijuana. And so when you're dealing with that, I think you'll see a lot of the applicants, but have a holistic approach to the medicine, to the product. You'll see that the staff that I talked about earlier about how they receive tips, that's because they need to know between the 20 to 40 strains that you have, if they're sativa or indica or hybrid. They need to know what the doctor's referral is for, or quiz the patient on what type of medical condition they have, so that they can treat that properly. And to do that, you have to have managers, assistant managers, and heavy training programs to make sure that everybody's trained in what the proper medicine is for the patient. And that's really what we're talking about when we talk about a holistic approach. I think this is an example of a chart if you're really bored and you want to read it, but that gives you a good idea of the breakdowns and the effect on the human body and the medical cures and uses that you can use it for. And that is the last slide right now is recycling. Obviously, we're adding solar panels to the site. We want to be a good world citizen as well as a Benton Harbor citizen. And we'll be recycling. We'll be using reusable containers. We'll be taking part of the recycling program. We'll be making sure that we make sure that the solar panels are working and that we're good to Mother Earth. With that said, that's the end of the presentation. I will tell you that we're extremely excited for the opportunity to work here, and we'd love to show you what we can do. And again, I think that our regulatory compliance and background and our very long length of experience in a heavily regulated business, we hope separates us at least in the top four, so that we can be part of this experience. And with that said, I'll answer any question you have.
Yes, currently, what's your facility for where you'll be operating? What's currently there now?
Right now, it's vacant.
It's vacant.
Yeah, I think it was Dress to Impress was the name on the business. My understanding it's been vacant for about 2 years.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem C.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, and I do appreciate Green Buddha showing up tonight.
Thank you.
And apologize to my constituents for my having to work a job, coming from out of town to get here. Are you familiar with a gentleman by the name of Richard S. Goodwin?
I am not.
All right. He was a judge that ruled against Wild Bill's tobacco for selling to minors. Back in, I think it was 2017, there was a case where they were cited 4 times for selling to minors under 18 for Swisher Sweets, grape Swisher Sweets. Case log, I mean, you Google, right? I know you can Google. And I can pull case log, I'm gonna give you case number.
Well, no, I can tell you I'm in-house counsel. That's one of my other hats, and I have never appeared nor been aware of a Judge Goodman or case. I can tell you that Wild Bill's Tobacco with 120 stores has been cited on a handful of occasions over the last 4 years, because I'm not going to go back to 25 years. And then unfortunately, that's a natural component of the beast. I mean, Walgreens, CVS gets cited. You can do your best for employees. We have handbooks. We have things that they have to sign that say they'll be fired if they do it. We have now auto swipe cards that swipe your ID. You have to enter the date into the computer. We take that stuff very seriously. So to the extent we had some knuckleheads selling to minors, that is not a business model upon which we try to make money. I can tell you that right now.
Thank you. Next question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I don't think you answered that question, because that was one of the questions that I had. How many sightings? Because I know you've been open probably the longest, and you have the most operating stores, but how many times has your businesses been cited?
Yeah, I would say out of 120 locations,
Yes.
we've had some citations issued in Hazel Park.
I don't need to know where.
Oh no, I'm just telling you, it's
number.
very limited. So
Just
we've
the
had,
number.
I'd probably say in the last 4 years, we've probably from maybe 6 citations.
Mayor Pro Tem C.
Thank you. Are you familiar with, because I'm looking at the applicant history right here, and Mr. was it Weisberger?
That's me. Yeah.
Is he?
Yep.
And Mr. Simona?
Correct.
Is he here? All right, it says a pre-qualified background check cleared, FBI background check cleared. Are you familiar with the article that came out in Metro Times, Detroit? Let me pull it up for you. September 9th, 2019.
I'm probably very familiar with that, but it has nothing to do with Mr. Luke Simona.
Well, it does say that right here.
It should be Miles and Simona.
No, well,
Well,
it says
any like
Wild Bill.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think that any
The scoring process.
about criminal history, criminal record, an attorney can.
Was for,
Could that be talked about in the closed session, or how should that?
Should we go to close session and talk about that?
Because I know there's certain
Well,
things.
I would think any any confidential information, including financials and criminal history, but I know that through the background checks, that the Department of Public Safety.
We're clear that it wouldn't be a problem.
Clear, correct.
Right, I'm just,
Any of those sorts of.
any discussions about criminal history or financials would have to be done in closed
Correct.
session.
I would ask if they want to go in closed session so we can talk about it.
Like, I think it's important to note who the applicant here is tonight. The applicant is Luke Simona and Paul Weisberger and Sakina. And those individuals, I have been pre-qualified by the state through Weisberger Ventures 2 LLC, and Luke Simona has been pre-qualified by the state for LJ Holdings LLC. It's a very vigorous review that's done, and those are the applicants before you tonight.
Mr. Manager, can I clear by hour?
Can I finish my question, please? I'll give it back. Are you familiar with the article?
I'm familiar with the article.
But what does the article so state?
We don't want to, that's still in Mayor Pro Tem with,
Well,
This is not a courtroom.
That's not a courtroom, but you don't have the floor.
right, but I'm just saying, we can't deal with
But it says,
history.
I'm not talking about history,
The article is.
I'm just gonna deal with the headliner. The headliner says, and I just asked him to comment on that portion. It says the state stops Wild Bill owners from opening weed dispensaries. I'm done after that. If you can speak to that.
That relates not to Luke Simona or Paul Weisberger.
So it's not Wild Bill's.
No. And while
It says Wild Bill's owners.
This is Green Bull.
Wild Bill's has numerous owners, of which Luke Simona is a principal owner.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Thank you. There was a process that took place and all applications went through each department head before coming to us. Now, I would ask through the mayor, our city attorney, for these applications, these applicants to be before us today, this evening. Everything was cleared or they would not be here. Am I right?
You are correct.
Yes.
Thank you. Can we move forward, please?
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you. I'm very glad that you have chosen our city as the host. And I really appreciate you offering prevailing wages to our residents. I'd like to know, where does the local temp agency come involved? I understand that you're gonna go a special effort to hire Benton Harbor residents first and to do publications in local papers or local medias, but where does the local temporary service come in?
So, my business is not a temporary service. My office is right near Chemical Bank, right across from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's employment, it's direct employment. And my goal is just to make sure that the people who are hired are actually residents of Benton Harbor. And because I've been in employment for more than 10 years, that's where we have a good match. But it's not a temporary service. I never provide, I don't even have a business that provides temporary employment.
Oh, I'm just reading, it said local temp agencies, and I'm like, okay,
Okay.
so that will not include you,
No.
okay? And I need some clarity that your health benefit is for all full-time employees.
Yes.
You made some choices or had some conversations about the charitable donations. And I noticed that on your new presentation, it mentions our Parks and Rec, so that means you spoke to someone in government. The Boys and Girls Club, the Benton Harbor Soup Kitchen and Cycle Recycle let me know that you spoke to someone outside of government.
Okay, so I'll respond. Oh, are you ready for me to respond? So we did not speak to somebody in the government. It's on your website. So what we did is just research. You also have the master plan on the website under the projects that you're focusing on. So basically, we just looked at what you're focusing on right now and made an update based on that.
Okay. And you also to certain organizations, charitable organizations. Benton Harbor has a large medical marijuana card providers and caregivers. Our income is much lower than federal limits. Would you consider getting Benton Harbor card givers a discount as well?
Well, the only way to enter our store is with you mean medical marijuana card members? Yeah, that's the only customer that can enter the store.
Would you consider giving Benton Harbor proper in the 4.5 mile proper of the city? Would you consider giving those clients a discount?
Yes.
Would you put that in writing?
Yes.
Mr.
Could you, and can we see if we can have the city manager have a conversation with the group that if they went on our websites and located that we need some help with our parks and recs? We definitely need that conversation with them as to what we need with parks and recs.
And that's why Sakina's involved. She'd be the one who would be having the conversation with community staff.
Okay. And I just love the outreach process that you've got in place. I'm looking forward to that outreach. My research has shown me that medical marijuana has its own help in part, but marijuana does not help our youth. And so I'm looking for something to educate my youth that medical marijuana has its own purpose, recreational has its own purpose, but the damage that it does to young minds is.
That is part of our outreach, is education, as well as conducting open houses where we let the entire public in, but we have to remove the product from the floor so we can do that, or hold it at another location. But again, Sakina would be the front runner on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Weisberg, so you mentioned investment and a dollar amount. You said about 300,000.
For the interior, I haven't gotten bids on it yet, but I would say a building this size and the interior is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000. But that 300 to 350, but that also is including computers and signage and cameras and that kind of.
If granted a license, what type of time frame would you say would be needed for you to be operational and an open sign going up?
And I'm going to work on a presumption that this is after we've gone through.
If granted.
Yeah, everything, special land use, the whole thing.
Everything.
Yep. I would say that we're probably gonna, we would, if we got past this stage, I would tell you that we'll have our A&E guys working on building permit plans. I don't mean to be presumptuous, but I'm gonna assume we can hopefully get through the special land use process. So I would have them start on construction plans immediately. That usually takes us about 3 to 4 weeks to get those construction plans done, sometimes 5 weeks, but there'll be some time built in there where we're not losing any time because we're gonna go in front of for the special land use. And depending on the turnaround of your building department, I don't know how long it normally takes to get plans.
How long?
Yeah, It's probably gonna take about 4 to 6 months. That's including plan drawings, permit review, construction, opening, and state inspection.
Because as stated previously, you know that there's only 4 licenses that will be issued, and there's more applicants than licensed. So one of the things that I'm looking at as the mayor is who is ready, who is, not just to get a license, but to turn around to actually have an open sign and providing business with the city and to residents as well as jobs. Because I would hate to see somebody get a license and then, a year later,
Haven't done it. I think that's what we said in our application, about 4 to 6 months.
That's that.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, and I do appreciate you for coming.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask the gentle lady, are you part owner? What's your position in the company? Are you management, CEO? Just
Of Possibilities Network or this?
Of the applicant, the business.
I'm a part of the business.
What,
So I will be part owner of the business.
so you'll be part owner of the business? Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The next applicant is District Harbor. Are they present?
Yes, we are.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, honorable members of the City Commission, City Clerk, and City Manager, and related community members. My name is Eric Foster. I'm with Banks and Company. We are the policy and operations consultant to District Harbor. And we have here the 2 owner applicants for District Harbor. I'll let them introduce themselves and give background, and then we'll talk about highlights from the application that we've submitted, background on some of the things that we have done in terms of entering into strong, proactive partnerships and relationships in communities, and would love to extend here in Benton Harbor, and work that we're doing with the NAACP in our different operating locations that can be also applied here in Benton Harbor. So first, I'll turn it over to Greg and Jason.
Hello, my name is Jared Sineshtai. I'm 27 years old. I was born in Michigan. About 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, I met Jason. We decided to get involved in the cannabis industry together. Currently, we have about 6, 7 projects throughout the state approved municipally. We're also approved through the state, pre-qualified, and operating 2 dispensaries in Michigan. One of them is in Bay City, and one of them is in Detroit. I currently own a company called Ash Inc. We are a wholesale distribution company for the cannabis industry and the smoke shop industry. We supply about 10,000 stores throughout the country. 8,000 of those are through different distributors, and 2,000 of them are through directly to them. Last year, we got 58th fastest growing company in the country. In that company, we currently employ about 50 people.
And Jason here also employs about 400 people. I have other ventures also that we employ. So altogether, we employ about 500 people altogether. I'm going to turn it over to Jason.
Good evening, and thank you for taking your time. My name is Jason Navro, one of the applicants. Speak on to George, we have approvals in Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Mount Pleasant, Mount Morris, Flint, Detroit, Bay City, and several applications throughout the state as well. I'm in the wireless industry. We have almost Sprint metros throughout the Midwest. So we have them in, Muskegon, Grand Rapids, Holland, Battle Creek, all the way to Detroit, Lansing, and throughout the state. So live in Michigan, lived in Grand Rapids for 15 years, moved back. Now I live in Detroit suburbs. The location that we're submitting is a 53 wall. It's a closed down building right now. It was a call center. Previously it was a bank. Now it was a call center, and now it's shut down. So we have it under contract. So hopefully for one of the 4 applicants that do get approved, we would be ready to start construction right away. We do have, Mayor, I know you asked a couple of applicants, how fast would it be? We have full set of drawings done. So as long as the city approves it, it wouldn't take us more than 90 to 120 days to open up. So I'm gonna turn it over to Eric and let him talk a little more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jared. And just to tell you a little bit from key highlights from the application, District Harbor plans to employ a minimum of 12 to 20 employees and will work proactively to hire from Benton Harbor with respect to the pool of individuals that will work in the managerial, entry-level, and mid-tier positions. The base level salary range for positions will start at $15 per hour, and then salaries will escalate depending upon the level of responsibility and duty. And these will be full-time positions, which one of the things that the state requires and encourages is for the licensees to not have 1099 employees or part-time or contractual employees or temporary employees, but to have permanent employees. So we work to strive to be in compliance with the state rules in statute and in administrative rules. We also will work with the staff to train them on not just customer service and engagement, but also on the health outcomes and health impacts of the commercial medical marijuana products, how it impacts various health conditions. And as a part of our application in talking about the patient education handbook, we'll actually publish a handbook that will be helpful to patients to help them see and understand what applications of the various products can be applied to impact and address specific health needs. One thing that we have of value in the industry is the fact that certain states such as Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, California, Colorado, Maryland do and have codified medical marijuana research in their state statutes, so that the universities are working with licensees and doing studies to help improve the quality of products for health outcomes. And we'll rely on a lot of that information to help educate patients that will come to District Harbor for those particular services. And then also work with organizations in the community to help broaden the reach of information and knowledge. The important thing is not to do everything self-contained inside of the 4 corners of our location, but is to reach out and reach in to all of the different neighborhoods and all of the different organizations as much as humanly possible to build that flow of communication. A few other things that we will relate to is in the security plan, because the state and through your local ordinance have specific requirements and details for video surveillance, for security of facility, for security guards, and it is compliant with state process. we will meet those, but we will also take a proactive approach of working with the local police department and community organizations on activities such as substance abuse prevention, diversion. The video surveillance feeds have to be linked in per state statute and administrative rules to the local police and the state police. So there's that constant stream of information, which could be helpful in helping to not only deter any criminal activity near the facility, but then also to help the police department proactively pursue those who may not affect our facility, but affect a neighboring facility or neighboring business or neighboring property, so that we can help be a part of cutting down on criminal activity and incidents in the city. A few other things that we will focus on in respect of working with Benton Harbor, if we're able to be approved, is to not just look at the opportunities to meet in a tangential way, community impact, but actually bring something to the table. So in some of our relationships in other communities, and Grand Rapids is a good example where we just were locally approved last week for a facility in Grand Rapids. We've struck a relationship with the NAACP and various branches to work with them on workforce development and apprenticeship programming in our particular location sites. We have a suggestion for the city that would be important for you all to consider. Because you have opted in for medical marijuana and don't have recreational, employment opportunities for persons with disqualifying felonies or misdemeanors are not allowable unless the individual business writes a request to the state for that person to be employed. But what we've done on behalf of our clients asking us to find ways to help expedite those opportunities on the medical side is worked with the state and the director and leadership team at the MRA, Marijuana Regulatory Agency, to see if there's an opportunity to create a blanket program where if persons who've had felony or misdemeanor disqualifying incidents could be able to be granted waivers en masse. And so their feedback in response to us is, well, what we would like to see is communities, municipalities partner with organizations like a NAACP or other groups to set up those type of programs in partnership with the licensees. And if people graduate from those programs, then we have in our statutory power the ability to grant blanket waivers. It's a way of kickstarting employment opportunity for those in a community who have been negatively impacted, not just by marijuana-related offenses, but other offenses in the war on drugs and other criminal activities that may have plagued them in their younger life, but as they strive to rebuild, we want to be a part of helping to change those paradigms and those outcomes. So that's something that we make as a suggestion and recommendation in this process of working with the city and working with not only other applicants who might be approved, but also with NAACP and working in a broader context, because this collaboration that gets us there. Just to tell you a little bit about some of the activities that we've done in other communities in conjunction with changing paradigms and bringing impact. In the Detroit location that we have, we worked with and done an annual fundraiser each year as it relates to breast cancer and supported persons, victims of breast cancer who are recovering and helped them with expenses and other needs that they may have, because we know cancer, and me personally being a cancer survivor, know that it's difficult to recover. And sometimes the support of persons who are outside of your group or outside of your family can help you get through that traumatic issue. We've worked with and done programming for Thanksgiving to provide food and dinners for over 200 families per year in the area where we operated in Detroit. And then we've also worked in a Christmas drive for toys as well as a family holiday party type of activity where we bring in the families and the kids, and there are activities for them to participate in and of course get their toys, but to help bring some positive light to the holiday season. In the city of Warren, where as a part of the overall partnerships that the owners have with groups in other cities, in the South Warren area, where you have a growing level of diversity, but also a growing lack of services, we've worked with and helped spearhead an initiative to bring back a library to the south end of Warren and provided initial seed funding to a capital drive to bring back a library to the south end, because just because the area is becoming more diverse and just because the area may have not the same economic prospects as the northern parts of Warren, education and knowledge are critical for that part of the city as well. Also, during the 2019 winter vortex, when it got extremely cold, worked with the city on providing support for housing for shelter days for persons so that they could extend the amount of shelter time for individuals that were homeless to be out of the cold air. And that's just some of the things. I'll shut it down so that you can have questions, because one thing that we do want to do is we want constant communication. We know that every community is unique, and we want to know and look forward to finding out, beginning today and continuing forward, how to be a part of Benton Harbor and help see the greatness of this city, the strength and the opportunities realized within this community. So with that, we'll kind of close because you have all of our details in our application. If you've got questions on that, we can answer. But also hopefully questions about the general goodwill of what this sector and industry can do for the city.
Chair recognizes First Ward Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. I just have a question about why you selected the city of Benton Harbor.
So that is a great question. There's a few things. One, Benton Harbor, proximity-wise, is close to Indiana and Illinois. So as the industry continues its expansion, the ability to attract and engage with potential out-of-state customers and being close enough so that you have that ability to service those individuals is critical. Two, the western side of the state right now has a limited number of communities that are allowing the commercial businesses to operate. So that's one issue, which though in this side of the state, you have roughly 42,000 people in the southwestern Michigan region, including Berrien County, who have medical marijuana cards and need servicing. But right now you have only 12 provisioning centers that are open in this whole region, 13 counties across southwestern Michigan. Benton Harbor has an opportunity to provide services, not just to the citizens, but to neighboring communities and people that are at need. So geographically, with Indiana and the geographical desert of commercial facilities in the area creates a unique opportunity to be of a value add and meet business goals at the same time.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you. It's very encouraging to hear about your involvement with NAACP and other community racial equality. Want to know how much have you done with it? Have you done just starting, or have you fought for any kind of racial equity as far as with the company or the other companies you might have? Have you made it your business to hire minority, or could you give us a little bit more of that? Because I know just speaking, sometimes we get a lot of content. And I just want to know how much you have done in that area. Appreciate that.
I totally understand that. So we are working with a couple of groups on teaming up with them to manufacture products. So we're working with a group out of Muskegon. That's one group we're working out of. And, you know, we're going through the details right now. But we are working on that. And our model is, yeah, we're getting into the manufacturing and processing side, but we like to also purchase our product from other people, other individuals. So that way we're not just carrying only our products. So you look at our location in Detroit, there's a link called Weed Maps, which kind of gives you all your menu and whatever you. So we have 2,900 reviews. Out of 5 stars, we have 4.8 because we value on us bringing in product that services everybody. And then we also, our main focus is customer loyalty, where, you know, we're giving the patients what they need and everything.
Thank you again, Chair. My question is, thank you for the product, 4 stars. That's a huge, tremendous rating. Give me a little bit more about people, bodies. What are you doing as far as the hiring of minorities? And I heard you say something about Muskegon. What's going on there? What kind of work are you doing there?
So we're opening up a provisioning center there, and we're working on it with the city right now. Just submitted our plans and everything. But I'm going to give you the city of Detroit. So our security guards, our retired police officers within the city, our 70% of our workforce live in the city of Detroit. So we're hiring within, and we have, I don't know, maybe 40 staff members at that location. And you know, you start small, right? You start with 10, then 15, then 20, you know, comes up as this. But you know, we hire within. So even with our security guards here, we look for, you know, retired police officers, veterans, you know, that we like to give those people jobs first because, you know, they're experienced and, you know, they know safety and whatever is needed. I also want to talk about one thing we did with one of the schools in one city. We went to the city and asked, you know, what do you guys need? And they brought up the school. So we bought 40 iPads for the school. We spent over $10,000 with school supplies. So we don't mind doing that too. Whatever is needed for the schools is important. I got 5 kids. To me, my kids' education is more important than anything in this world. So just want to chime up on that too. So.
If I can add to that too, Mayor Pro Tem Seats. So getting to your question and some specific tangibles, the partnership with the NAACP is a newer partnership, and in working with them in cities and working with cities to do 2 things. One, take advantage of, in the medical marijuana side, MCL 333.27205, which is your governing statute that manages how municipalities can opt in. When opting in, you can codify in your ordinance, or you can go back and amend your ordinance to include goals for community investment, employment opportunity, and economic investment and development, and even ownership goals. That's something that we've worked with and gotten implemented in the city of Grand Rapids on behalf of our clients. They're working with other cities to do based on the needs of that particular city. Now, we, in working with, from a consulting vantage point, we work with businesses and groups that are committed to the hiring goals and providing those sorts of demonstrations of hiring individuals. As Jason has told us, as we've worked with them in other markets, and we've seen they hire African Americans, Latino Americans, people from the community in various positions, including management. They contract with companies of color because that's a big area too. One of the things that is in, say, the Grand Rapids program for voluntary economic development agreements is contracting goals. 24% of a applicant's procurement budget spending good and buying goods and services is with local businesses. Those are things that we work with our clients on, whether the city has those rules or not, to ensure that there's a higher level of demonstrated impact. And of course, in communicating and offer to those cities on behalf of our clients, ways that they can put those sorts of structures in their ordinance to not only have it apply to our clients, but also to apply to the greater industry to help do proof of concept and help adhere to minimum floor goals for outreach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I want to appreciate your tremendous content that you've given us. You've given us phenomenal information, one of the better presentations that I've seen, especially to say out front about the NAACP and not in the back. That's commendable. But I want to say this, and I want to say this kind of clear. Soup Kitchen is going to take care of itself. It's been taking care of itself for over 30 years. So every applicant that comes up talks about the soup kitchen and all that kind of stuff. You know, that soup kitchen been serving soup for 30 years and has not stopped. And it's appreciative that what you're saying about giving people hand-ups and not handouts, and I can concur with that. I definitely know that time is of the essence, and again, common sense don't cost a quarter, so you give us a whole lot of common sense, and I appreciate that. And just the education that you've given all of us enough information to be able to make a positive decision. So you're not coming begging, because you already have a foundation. I do appreciate that, so thank you for coming.
Thank you. If I can add one thing too, as a suggestion, because you're right. One thing to also think about are good neighbor plans in the ordinances or in the structure of what you're looking for applicants. Because what we've done in working in other communities is we've been able to find those organizations and programs that really need partnership. And it's not just writing a check. It's also manpower hours. It's volunteering. One organization that our clients are partnering with in Grand Rapids that we found is Our Kitchen Table. One of the things that Our Kitchen Table does is help lower income individuals in the southern half, the third ward, to grow their own food and to help them address healthy living and healthy lifestyle needs. One of the things that we're going to work with them on is the growers in the growing part of the operation are going to be a part of the educational training to help train residents on techniques of growing food better for themselves. So you're right. It's not just the soup kitchen. It's not just the Red Cross. It's not just the named organization, but it's finding those other organizations that need real support, not just a check. So getting feedback from you as leaders, getting feedback from citizens, getting feedback from the churches, from the school district, whether organizations are supportive or not of the industry, that real communication helps clients like ours who want to be good actors to know how they can be a part. They can't directly solve every issue, but they can find quality, quantitative items to work on that can produce quality, quantitative results.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the heart.
The last applicant up to this evening is Saad, present.
Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, staff. Before I get started, I wanted to give a couple shout outs to some people who helped us get here. Commissioners Isom and Adams, you guys started the process way longer ago than I want to think about. So thank you very much for that. And Commissioner Henry, thank you for being a consistent reminder that it needs to be moving forward. So we're very glad for that. And Mr. Duncan, thank you for your constant participation. The city is very lucky to have someone who spends so much time concerned about the city. My name is John Campbell. I'm an attorney. My office is in Benton Township, behind a Brexit. This is my partner, Raj Zavadia. We are the only two members of this company, no unnamed people who can show up today. Tell you a little bit about ourselves and then what our plan is. I'm a product of Benton Harbor area schools. I grew up just down the road off Colfax, technically in St. Clair Township, two streets outside the city. And I went to Western for my undergrad, got a degree in political science. Took a few years off while my wife went to grad school, and then I went back to law school and got a degree in that. Graduated in 2012, opened up an office here about a year later, and most of my practice is with compliance and licensing issues, liquor licensing, now cannabis licensing, breweries, USDA licensing, basically anything you need a license for. My partner, Raj, was born in India, about 30 years now?
Yes.
About 32 years ago. Immigrated to the U.S. in 2012 after getting 2008, I'm sorry, after getting a bachelor's degree in electronics in India. He immigrated to Florida where he earned his commercial pilot's license and then moved up to the South Bend area in 2012? 2000. Okay. There he opened up a company making e-juice. It's the vaping liquid that goes in vaping devices for tobacco. And after that, got into the retail side of the smoke and vape shops. He currently has a chain of 12 stores across 3 states, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. He currently resides in Niles, Michigan. We got into this about 3 years ago. We put in an application down in Niles, did not get chosen. They had about the same number of licenses to give as the city does for, and did not get that one. The city was our second application, and it's the only one we currently have pending. It's my hometown. It's where I want to do business. Our building is at 1099 Milton. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but the maps are in there. It's really more noticeable from Territorial, right across the street from the gas station there, right behind Cartar Mart, large white building. Used to be soap manufacturing, but its address is on Milton. We chose that location because it's not downtown. We knew that a lot of people would be hitting the arts district and downtown. We heard early on in the process that not everybody wanted shops downtown and not a main street full of them. So we appreciated that. We also appreciated the fact that not all residents of the city drive, and if all the shops are located in one place, people can't easily access medicine. So we thought being apart from the central business district would allow a greater access. We also chose that building because it's large enough for our full plan, which you'll see in our business plan, includes growing into a grow and processor at that. We'd like to be vertically integrated, grow, process, and dispense all from the same location. That's further down the road. There's a couple hurdles we have to clear with the property before we're able to do that. And it would allow us to make a difference right away. When I was a kid, downtown wasn't much, but it's come a long way. And frankly, the Arts District doesn't need an infusion of new businesses right now. The building's great.
Mason Jar is expanding. They're doing good. We wanted to take a building that's currently blighted and currently bringing down the neighborhood and turn that around. So that's why we chose that instead of an easy retail space that we could walk into. As far as employment, we're looking at about 15 to 20 employees, 3 managers, 2 security. We're contracting with Rover Security here in the city to do that. I don't know if the city has any part-time police officers, but if they do, we'd also really like to talk about maybe bringing them in, help the city bring in good officers by helping subsidize that part-time with some extra security work. We're looking at about 10 retail and accessory employees. On top of the dispensary, there's also going to be a wellness center. We're going to have yoga classes. There's sensory deprivation tanks that you can hang out in, and an oxygen bar. So we're going to be a couple more than a typical dispensary. If we're able to then get the growing and processing license at that location, we'll be up to about 40 employees max. So there's a certain amount of synergy if we're able to get this provisioning center license, because instead of just adding those few jobs, the full plan will allow us to add a lot more. I'm glad Mr. Duncan brought up the schools. If you've seen our proposal, that's our focus. That was our focus before a new governor was elected and tried to shut the schools down. We submitted this back in October 2018, and it was obvious to anybody who looked that the schools have been a problem for a long time. When I was a kid, every one of those elementary schools was full, and now I don't even want to know how many there are open and operating. But I see the empty buildings. So that's essentially where we want to focus our community engagement. We'd like to do hiring preferences for people who graduate from Benton Harbor area schools. We'd really like to do some kind of management apprenticeship guarantee, where if you graduate with a certain GPA, we will guarantee you internship into a management position. We won't be able to do that with just the provisioning center up and running, because we've only got three positions to give there. Ideally, a pipe dream of ours would be that if we were able to join forces with some of the other cannabis companies around, that maybe we could institute something close to Benton Harbor Promise, where students qualifying, graduating from the city, from Benton Harbor area schools, would be guaranteed some amount of undergrad employment. We'd never be able to do that on our own, but I think, given the presentations you've heard and given the level of community engagement these types of companies have, it might be possible. I don't really want to talk and hear myself think at 9:45 or 8:45 after you've been sitting through this. So if you've got any questions, I'd love to hear them.
Chair recognizes Commissioner at Large Adams.
I just want to thank you, as everyone else that chose Benton Harbor, because she is a jewel. And I hate that we only have a selected few that will be choosing. But you came in the beginning, and I'm glad you stood it out. And sometimes that's what we have to do when running a race. Just
I haven't been in as many meetings as Mr. Duncan.
Yeah. And thank you for making mention of our schools.
Thank you.
I mean, those were conversations that you had, that you were privy to hearing a lot of the other things that were being discussed at our committee meetings, but thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for your consistency. Had two just quick questions.
Sure.
Did you graduate Benton Harbor?
Nope. My mom got a job teaching at LMC when I was in 7th grade, so I went over there.
You still got a little bit of time.
Yeah, a little time.
What year?
I graduated high school in '98.
Okay, cool.
I went to Fairplain Northeast first through third, or kindergarten through second grade, and then I went to G&T over on Learning Lane through 6th grade.
Thank you. My last question is, with that property, driveway access?
Yeah, all off Pipestone. Essentially, we plan on closing off Milton altogether, blocking it from view for one thing, because it's a blight and it's ugly, so we'd like to block off that. So there'd be essentially no activity on Milton there. And then we've got that huge open area that's currently dirt and grass there. That would be the parking. There are layouts of our 3D renderings of where our parking and everything would be. So all access would be off Pipestone.
All right, let me finish the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. You've been overtime. So, going from Pipestone, fire access. What kind of access? Because I know if you come off of, that's where Pipestone hits Milton, and also hits Well. And you have fire hydrants that are there. What's the proximity as far as fire? Because I know there's one right there at that corner.
I think there's one right underneath the billboard that's right there on the property, and then there's one in the back. I don't know exactly where it's at, though.
Okay. And lastly, how far is that church there, Word of Truth?
The one across Napier?
Well, no, you have Word of Truth. Then you have Pastor Jeremy Butler's church. I don't know what the name of that church. They're still there? Yeah. And that little church and that what the old Mike Young's building was? What's the footage on that?
That didn't show up in my search. The closest one I saw is at Carlton coming out of Pipestone here.
There's a church right, you know where Mike Young's is?
Yeah, I know where Mike Young's is, yeah.
And on that right side where you have there's a big church sign over there, and they have church there on Sunday and Bible class on Wednesday night. Did they move?
Yeah, it didn't pop up in our search, and it passed the
chair.
Yeah, sure. When back in October 2018.
Well, they do the chair, and I'm just asking for the footage because they said 500 feet from churches. It doesn't. I mean, if you already have clearance from them, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to know the footage from that church there because I know from 2018. I mean, they were there in 2019 too. So, thank you, Honorable Chair.
Mr. Attorney.
Yes, I just know that all the applications that are here tonight have been vetted through the zoning. And so that we know that all of the locations are a minimum of 500 feet away from churches and a minimum of 1,000 feet from any of the schools and I think residential districts. As far as, I'm not familiar with those individual churches, but I do know that there have been a few churches that have closed in the last couple of years. I don't know if this is one of them or not.
And I have a map with an aerial buffer view here in section Q that shows highlighted what everything within 500 feet is. Yeah, and the closest church that popped up on our search was across M139. Yes, thank you.
The address is 1330 M139.
Okay, I can definitely
just for clarification. If it's already cleared, their turn on it. I'm fine with it. I just want to know about how to get there and the fire escape or whatever in case of fire.
Appreciate it.
And also parking.
Yeah, we have parking in there according to the zoning plan, not only for our provisioning center, which will be rather small, but also for the whole 30,000 square feet. We need the parking requirements there.
For clarity, so the church would have to be deeded as a church.
Deeded? Ah.
So if I say, oh, I'm gonna rent out of this facility, and I'm gonna have church on Wednesday and Sunday, that wouldn't qualify.
And I can definitely run a new search and send that updated. I will make one point about compliance and the future of it. I mean, that's my business, literally what I do every day. Also, of all the applications that we're putting here, only 3 applicants met the initial review after first round of supplementary information. We were one of those 3 applicants. So if passed as prologue, we will continue to be a good business resident and compliant with all state and local regulations.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Commissioner the Third Ward.
Thank you. Can you explain to us your premium membership point?
Yeah, Raj, you want to handle that?
So basically, customer would come in and they will pay for a 1-year program, is a certain amount of money, which would be basically one time of ticket purchase, which is in medical marijuana industry, it's $88. Once you do that, it helps as a business for us to compete with other businesses. For them, it's an extra incentive for them to come to us. But the benefit they get is 20% off medicine all year round than market price. So we'll be providing medicine at quite low of the price than other dispensaries.
There would also be increased access to the other things they offer, free yoga classes with a membership. And it's just a kind of another way to engage with a customer. You don't have to buy a membership. Anybody with a medical marijuana card can come in and buy at retail prices. But if they're going to be a committed customer, then it will be in their economic best interest to get a membership and get those discounts.
Did I hear you say the amount?
Of the membership?
Mm-hmm.
Is it 80?
88.
$88? Okay.
Which at 20% discount is going to pay for itself pretty darn quick.
Okay.
Yeah, customer would get about 10 times more than somebody would spend about $245 a month. So over the year, they would get paid about 10 times more than what they paid for it, plus extra services.
Okay, I have to ask this question too of you. Benton Harbor is a very low to mod income level, and a lot of times there's not enough money to buy food along other things. Will you consider giving Benton Harbor residents that have cards a discount as well?
Yeah, we'll do income-based discounts for that.
You put that in writing?
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think you can see what we've already put in writing as far as a give back to the community. I mean, we're planning on operating here for 3 years, essentially on a nonprofit basis to show you that we're not a flash in the pan here. We're not here to make buck and walk away. We're in it for the long haul.
In your documents, you also talk about a donation after profit tax or after tax profit for the first 3 years. Is that part of your donation to different organizations, or is that?
25% of our donation is going to go to nonprofits specifically serving Benton Harbor area schools or Benton Harbor area school students, and the remaining 75% will go to the city.
Thank you. Let's see.
Is that in writing? I'm sorry.
You're going to be in my ward, and I'm so glad to hear. I see a lot of inventory associates. Can you give me the opportunity to move up from that position?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll always look to promote from within. That's what Raj does with his stores. Anytime you find a good employee, you can't let him go, especially now with job market is it is right now.
Stands to reason. So you did make comment that you were going to be wholesaling, and that would be wholesaling to other dispensaries or?
Yeah, that's the longer term plan.
Long term.
Would be I mean, not that long term. Essentially, we wanted to make sure that we could get the provisioning center first because we knew that would be the most competitive. And then if we did that, we could go back and add the grower and processor to get the benefits of being vertically integrated on one site. You know, you can move the product from the back of the house to the front of the house. You don't have to pay transporters, this or that. You can have more security. So all those benefits, we knew the grower and processor licenses probably wouldn't be met given the numbers and the available spaces to do so in the city. So we figured go after the provisioning center license first and then come back to the city. So our timeline on that is essentially as long as it takes to go back through the process.
Okay. And also in your document, you talk of the services, and you did hit on it, some of them, about the wellness therapy. That's just a great idea. Our Compassion Club has been trying to find some way to implement some things that that enhance the client's life after whatever they're going through. So I think that is a perfect opportunity. Now, and I know we're only talking about medical marijuana here, but there's a social part of recreational.
Not a
social equity program.
That's not on this, a part of this conversation. Recreation.
You're not even letting me finish. You don't even know what I was gonna say.
I'm just, before you go beyond of what you have said, recreational has no discussion in this particular application process.
Thank you for disrupting my thought pattern. You honestly do it all the time, Mayor, and you're wrong for doing it to me. Thank you. I'll go to my next question, but I'm probably gonna come back to you on this. You talk of a community center. This is the only community that I ever been in that we have no community center whatsoever. Nowhere, not a bus stop, not anywhere that we could gather and talk about ourselves at all. So can you give me more information about your concept of a community center?
Most of the people who's applying for medical marijuana card have some sort of medical issues. One of the biggest one is the chronic issue. You know, so we wanted to our community center. We wanted to target activities that will help with chronic pains. One of them is bringing in certified yoga teachers in there, providing obviously the services to medical marijuana card holders. Another one is a sensory deprivation chamber. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not, but it's it's a meditational state. In yoga, there is 8 different stages of meditation. Is the 8th step that you can actually get it. So those are the 2 big ones that we want to bring it in, and also oxygen bar.
Okay, and so those are definitely for medical marijuana card givers. I don't want to bring up any other recreational thoughts on it, but
we can't have anybody else there as of right now. So
right now you can't.
Yes,
but okay.
Eventually, it could be a possibility. We got a lot of room that we could expand into it.
Yeah, you do have a lot of room. So you spoke on the community benefit programs. I'm just impressed that you have recognized Benton Harbor in the culture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to staff comments. Chair recognizes the city attorney. Right.
Mr. Mayor, I have, probably will reserve any comments as it relates to the application for the voting process, until after all the applicants have been heard.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Community and Economic Development Director Jennings.
No comments at this time.
Chair recognizes City Clerk Thompson.
No report, Your Honor.
Chair recognizes City Manager Mitchell.
No comment.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Your Honorable Mayor. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, giving a presentation. All of them was very interesting. Thank you again.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
And no comment.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Edwards.
I'm hungry. Thank you all for coming out. Just to let you.
Chair recognizes First Ward Commissioner Henderson.
No comment.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Isom.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight. We had some great presentations and look forward to getting the rest of the interviews. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank all the applicants for choosing Benton Harbor to want to do business with. And I just want to wish everybody good luck. We have some more to do. I'd like to ask this commission to please give consideration to a question that I've been waiting on. I've a trip to Pittsburgh, and hopefully we can talk about it real soon because I got word from someone that is able to take the trip. And there needed to be some commissioners along with some authority board members, and all systems are go. It's been waiting too long. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Thank you to all the people who came and spent time with us tonight in this interview process. I would ask our beloved city manager if he can give us some type of email format on how we're gonna pay all these guys for all these special meetings. This is $100 a meeting, and I don't think we're budgeted for it. Every meeting that we come is $100. And I know we can fatten in the cat a little bit, but we need to know where this money's coming from, what budget is coming from, or are we gonna use the application money to pay the commission? So that needs to be, because it was not budgeted, this amount of meeting. This amount of meeting was not budgeted for the marijuana application process. And you call the finance clerk, finance director, with some, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of money divvied out for these meetings. I just wanna know what budget, just fiscally responsible, that we are getting this out of. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Cease. I'd like to thank all the applicants for coming out today and participating in this process. I would like to thank the staff. This has been a rigorous process. First time working through with city income tax, which was the first time had been passed since 1994. So got that up and going, and now with the new emergence of this industry, our staff mauled over document after document. City Manager Mitchell came into the ball. He did not fumble.
Okay.
Ran like Gail said. Jim Brown, okay, he said Jim Brown. And here we are at the time where we would be selecting. So I will just assure the applicants that we will be reviewing with a very meticulous eye. And it's unfortunate that there's only 4 that will be selected. However, we will do our best to be objective, non-biased, and do what we feel is in the best interest of this community. I'd like to entertain.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
Just want to say one thing. It
Oh,
was a team effort.
Okay.
What'd you say?
Team,
Team effort.
You
TIAM.
should have been there at the beginning, but oh well.
So, thank you.
Sir.
Motion to adjourn?
Call roll.
Motion's made by Commissioner Adams.
She always say that.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson. Yes. Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Z,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad.
Mayor Muhammad.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now,
Now y'all can carry me home.
city attorney, these big liners.
Carry me home.